Hi, welcome to BariNation, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty.
You've just tuned into a podcast that welcomes you into a community, a resource center, and a safe place that powers your journey towards personal wellness.
Our goal is you leave us today feeling hopeful, inspired, and ready to live your best bariatric life.
Hey, BariNation, it's April. Are you struggling to make peace with food and hunger after bariatric surgery? You are not alone, and we've got something just for you. Join us for the Bariatric Intuitive Eating Deep Dive Cohort, a 6-week expert-led experience inside BariNation starting May 15th. This deep dive experience is created and hosted by Kelly Broadwater, a bariatric therapist and eating specialist. This member-exclusive course will help you rebuild your trust with your body, break free from food guilt, and find true food freedom on your terms. Spots are limited and only open to BariNation members for an investment of $40. Head to barination.mn.co to join or click the link in these show notes to learn more.
Hello, BariNation. Welcome to another fabulous podcast episode. Today, I have the honor of talking with one of my longest first bariatric friends that I ever met in the bariatric community, Casey. Hi, friend. We've been friends a long time now. We kayaked together like years ago. You were the first, if not one of the first members of our BariNation community, and you have been extremely involved. Even when maybe publicly you didn't share as much as what you do now, you have always been on the ground with us as we've been building this amazing bariatric community. So before we kind of get into the meat of our conversation, will you introduce yourself for those that don't know you?
Sure. I'm Casey. I live in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in Washington State. I had VSG March 26th of 2021. That really started my bariatric journey. A couple of years into my recovery process or new life, I had a revision on December 12th of 2023. Gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. Because I was experiencing hiatal hernia and some extreme acid reflux. And so my medical providers all felt like revision would get me to a place that would make me more comfortable. And so I had gastric bypass. And yeah, been a member of BariNation since the very beginning. So it's exciting to be here.
Well, you inspire us for a lot of different reasons. But the reason for today's conversation centers around movement. You have become an amazing runner, first and foremost, but to see you evolve. When I first met you, you were a larger woman, as was I. We went kayaking and we were both kind of like, oh my gosh, are we too big for this? All these discussions. And now we are in completely different movement places. And we know movement is one of our pillars in BariNation. It's movement, mindset, metabolic wellness, and community. And there's no caveat here. There's no time amount. There's no type of movement that is the right kind. It's whatever inspires you personally. So, Casey, how did you go from that person who you were to the person who is now training for a marathon?
You know, I was thinking back to early post-op days and trying to remember, well, let's be real. I was looking through my phone at pictures because I take pictures of everything. So I was scrolling back to try and remember really where I got started. And I remember, before surgery, I was always an active person. I was that fit, fat person that did events, that was involved in sports, that really, I loved the gym. I loved strength training. Activity was not something that was hard for me as far as the motivational side of things, of wanting to do stuff. Physically, on the other hand, I see a difference in my pre-op life versus my post-op life. But I thought back, and I think I got back into strength training about 4 to 6 months after VSG. And I just started lifting weights and getting back into movement just to see kind of where my body was post-operatively. It was hard at first, and I could definitely feel the lack of energy or the lack of stamina because, you're not eating very much and your body is in a recovery phase for that first year, really. And I just wasn't sure about what my capacity was. So I went back to the gym that I'd been training at, which is small group personal training style. So it was very hands-on with a trainer and just really worked with what my body could do. And I saw some gains. I don't remember what sparked it though. I think about a year later, I ended up at a turkey trot, a little Thanksgiving Day 4-miler, 5K 4-miler, something like that. And I just thought, I always wanted to be capable of running, and I would sign up for things like 5Ks with friends or fun runs or foam runs or, color runs, the things where it's like you get some people together, get kind of in a corny costume and you go out and just do the thing. Never competitively by any means. And I'm still not in that mindset of competition, which is great. I have no desire to try and win awards by any means. I like my participation medal and I will take it. But I ended up at this turkey trot back in 2022 and was like, oh, this actually feels kind of good. Maybe this is what I want to do for here and there. And so, I was signing up for these, holiday-based 5Ks. It was the St. Patrick's Day Dash, the 4th of July runs, things around my area. I'm fortunate to live in an area where we value being outdoors and moving your body. You can see people running any day of the year outside. Mm-hmm. So, and especially in my community, there's just a really big push that in the running community, like it's a thing. There used to be lots of clubs. There's a couple now, and I'm a part of one. And a couple of turkey trots and St. Patty's Day dashes turned into, in 2023, I ended up running 23 races. And then in 2024, I said, well, gosh, I'm running these 5 and 10Ks. I hear about half marathons. I don't know. Could I do it? And then I did it. I signed up and ended up running 10 half marathons last year. And now it's, well, you've run all these half marathons. Next step is a marathon. Let's see what happens. And I think for me, it's just about, it's that curiosity piece, that I want to go out and see what happens. And I don't pressure myself to be the first one across the finish line. I don't pressure myself to set a pace and follow a pace. I have this shirt on that says, forward is a pace. And that is something that I have really embraced through running. Is I get to go out there. I am fortunate enough that I can put on a pair of running shoes and I can move my body. And it started at walking. And then it started about that walk run. And then it was, could I run the whole mile? Could I run the whole 2 miles? When I ran my first 5K from start to finish and ran the whole thing, I was like, holy crap, I can do this, and there's places for all of us out there, like if I have a day where I'm just not feeling it, I can walk if I want to. I can stop. Nobody's forcing you to be there. One of my favorite run signs, like from a race supporter, was like, nobody's making you do this, right? And it's so true. Nobody is forcing me to drag my butt out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning every Saturday morning to run 5 to 20 miles. It's nobody's forcing me to do this.
Yes.
And nobody's sponsoring me either. I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm spending money on races. I'm spending money on race travel. You should see my shoe collection. It's ridiculous. And I'm loving every minute of it, because for me, I'm feeling the strength in my body, and I'm feeling there's this magic that happens when you commit to something because you love it and because it makes you feel good. It's different when you build a habit and you're like, I have to brush my teeth every day. Now, mind you, that's a habit I've had for a long time. But do I really enjoy brushing my teeth? I don't. It's just not something that's enjoyable. It's something that you have to do. The gotta do it, can't not, but yet with running, I don't have to do that. I could go for a walk. I could take a yoga class. I could lift some weights. I could do pretty much anything to keep my body mobile. But when I get out there and I put my headphones in and I start listening to music that makes me feel excited, and I just go and see what happens, I don't know, there's this switch that turns on for me where like I'm present in my body. and I feel strong and capable, and like I've just found something that fits, and it just feels like the right place to be right now. And I think part of it too is it could end this year and I could say, well, my body's not tolerating this anymore. And that's okay. Like, I know that this might just be a temporary blip on the radar that I'm a runner. And I don't feel like that's going to change my identity at all. But yet I've embraced this, I'm a runner personality. And, when you've done that, you make decisions based on, well, what would a runner do? I'm going to a bariatric meetup in a couple of weeks, and it's out of state. And I signed up for a half marathon the morning of the event because that's who I am. And I specifically told my pals that I'm meeting up with, I said, hey, I'll see you on Saturday after my race, but I'm going to do my own thing that morning. I'm going to get in the car and drive an hour from my lodging to go run a race because it's what brings me so much joy. And it makes me feel like, I don't know, I'm able to do something awesome for myself. And if you told me 5 years ago that this would be who I am, I would have smacked you or laughed at you or said, yeah, like I would bet $1 million that will never be me. Not because I was never active, but I just never saw myself as a distance runner, and now I'm like, I guess I'm there,
That's why I was so excited to have this conversation with you, because when I first met you, I would have also not pegged you as a distance runner. And now you are doing marathons and half marathons, and you are making very different decisions in your life that's aligned to the person that you are right now.
Right now.
And it's fascinating how you got there, because I think some people are going to be listening and watching this, and they're not going to quite understand how you got there because they haven't tapped in. They haven't found the thing that brings them the same level of joy that running brings you.
Yeah. And, I think about that because I didn't always love it. I mean, I still don't always love it. Sometimes when I'm out there, I'm like, what are you doing? Turn around, especially on moments, I run with this running club right now, and it's a training program to build you up to the marathon. And I did the half marathon program last year, and it got me my fastest time last year, not my current fastest time, because that was a couple weeks ago. But we would run in my neighborhood sometimes, and I'd pass my house and I'd look at it and go, I mean, nobody's going to know if I just jump ship, right? But I didn't. And I think that how do you get to that point of feeling the way I do today is trusting that there's something bringing you to what you're doing. So like finding something that you want to try, right? I wanted to try running, and I started small goals, small milestones, right? You started by walking, right? Like the first step in running is I'm going to sign up for this 5K and I'm just going to walk it. And there was something in your brain though that was like, I wonder if I just like jog this for a little bit. That was really where it started. Yeah, it's like, and it's the experimentation, right? Of like, well, what would happen if I picked up my pace and jogged this? Or what would happen if I pushed myself a little harder and see if I can get from this lamppost to that lamppost? I mean, it was like mile marker type stuff, but like 500 feet, but I think for me, like I didn't love it at first. I just was kind of interested in it and thought, could I love this? And I think it was that repetition and then trying and seeing the challenge of it, but also like finding in it just those little moments where I was like, well, at least I'm outside today, or I got this cool t-shirt, or look, I got a medal, or an ugly pair of socks I'll never wear. It's like I think there were just these little things where it was like, I don't know, what else am I going to do today? Might as well go see if I can run that thing. And I think it was just the repetitive trying and seeing what was going to happen and not judging myself through the journey of like, okay, well, so what if you can't run? I mean, I remember running around the lake downtown and thinking, I want to see if I can run around the whole lake. And it's, I don't know, a mile, maybe. I think it's about a mile around the loop. mile and a half maybe. And I was like, maybe I can do it. And I couldn't do it for a while. And I just kept being like, okay, well, that time was this, and let's see what happens next time. Maybe I'll push a little further. And I think I just told myself, you know, if it's not for me, if you don't get to a point where this is enjoyable, don't do it. Like, I don't know, how many times have you joined different gyms or weight loss programs or nutrition plans or fad anything, challenges?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a squat challenge this month, and you get like a weekend and you're kind of like, I don't really like to do squats. You know, I mean, you have to, it's like, it's letting go of that all or nothing piece where it's, I have to do this because I said I would. It's, I'm going to do this because I want to, because I'm enjoying it, and I'm running in other countries, in other states. I'm signing up for these events. I'm going to go run in Detroit in October, and we run into Canada and then back into the US. And it's like, I don't know. I love to travel, and I found a way to do movement and travel and experience these things that, like, they're interconnected for me, you know, and I don't feel like if I stopped doing it today that my life would crumble, you know.
That's huge, right? Because you really have adopted this identity, or you have grown into this identity of, you are, Casey, a bariatric patient who moves, right? Movement, fitness is who you are at your core. I love every month when you show your, right, on Instagram, and I know, and you share it in BariNation too. You've got like a big chalkboard, and it's the calendar, and you write on the calendar how you moved your body that day. And some days, very few days, it's nothing, but there's stretching, there's yoga, there's lifting, there's running, there's like all these other, you know, aerial yoga. It is just this beautiful, like, bouquet of different types of movement that you do. So I absolutely get how you've gotten this mindset shift. It's like, I'm a person that moves.
Yeah.
How I move is varied. And you are remaining true to your identity. Yes, right now in this moment, I'm a person who moves, and I am a runner. That is a part of it, but it's not the only part of your identity that is making you this holistic person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and that, like, the chalkboard piece is kind of a cool tool for me, because I have a goal to move my body every day. And yesterday, that was a real short walk because I had a rough day, and that's all I had in me. And that was okay. The walk went on the calendar. Mm-hmm. And the day before that, I went for a run, and then I went to yoga. And it's like, that was on there too. And I think not setting myself up for, this is the way I have to do something, and just opening it up to, let's see what I feel like doing today. You know, it's what's within my wheelhouse today. And with that added piece of, I am someone that values movement, and I will get movement of some sort today.
Yes, that's key.
Yeah.
I think, you know, as I hear you talking, I get in my own way when it comes to movement. And I know a lot of us do too, right? We commit to something, and then, and then because it's not perfect, we stop doing it. Or like what you said, we commit to something, we realize we don't like it, and then we feel guilty that we've committed to it. So we stick with it, even though we don't love it, but we know deep and down this wasn't really the thing for us.
Yeah.
So I guess how do you know? So if you say, I'm going to try paddleboarding, I going to try paddleboarding, and you try it. How do you know? What is the signal? What's the voice? What's the wisdom that's coming up from inside you that either says, this is something that I really like, or this is probably not my thing?
You know, it's funny. I started working with a therapist a couple years ago who really encouraged me to find that voice. Who is that authentic voice inside of me that tells me this feels right? And I didn't know who that was before then. I would question my intention. I would question why I was doing something. Am I doing something because I want praise, or because someone tells me I should, or because I feel like it's the right thing to do? And she really helped me to like look inside and say, when you know that you're in the right place and the right thing is happening, what does that feel, sound, smell, taste look like? And it takes some time to get there because we don't want to trust ourselves. We don't want to believe that we know inherently what our answers are to things. And for me, it was, I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try something and I'm going to see how it feels. And I'm going to just listen. And for me, it feels like it's almost the absence of feeling. Like it just feels like peacefulness in line with my values. I mean, that seems a little more heady than it really is, but like that idea of it's the movement that's important to me. And this is how I'm doing the movement. And it feels good in my body. And it feels like I'm doing something not because I have to. And it feels like something I want to do. And I look forward to doing it in the future, you know? And so I think it's just this trusting that like, I don't feel, I mean, when the alarm goes off in the morning or when I'm on the road and it's pouring rain or snowing or hailing and I'm looking out the window going, why am I doing this? Like I have those moments of like, is this the right thing? But I think when it comes down to actually doing the activity, I just listen, you know, I just kind of turn off the outside things, the whys, the shoulds, the who else is doing this, the comparisons, any of that stuff. And I just listen to like, how does this feel in my body? And when I run, it feels right. You know, it's hard. Good God, it's hard. It's never easy. It doesn't feel like I'm floating in air or anything like that. It's a grueling sport to be a part of. But, you know, when I listen to the cadence of my breath and I feel my feet hitting the pavement and I just am mobile, I don't know. There's just something that clicks. And so I think that I would encourage people to try, because you have to try things. You have to try them to know.
Yeah.
I'm doing this trapeze yoga class and I was like, I don't know about that. That seems kind of whack. And then I tried it. It was like, oh, this actually is really fun. And I'm literally flying through the air doing yoga. Like, who does that? But I would never have known if I didn't try it. And the first class was really hard. And the second class was hard too. And I just kept going back saying, I don't know, I'm either going to find my groove or I'm not. And that's okay. And that's like that piece of like taking out the judgment and taking out the expectation was huge for me. With running, it's, people are like, well, what's your race pace? I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, what day of the week is it and what country am I in? Like, there's so many variables that could be a part of it that it's, my goal is to do the thing and to be out there. And I'm sure there's going to be a point at which I can't finish a race. And I haven't met that time yet, but you know, if it happens, then that happens too. And then you just kind of pick yourself back up and dust yourself off and say, all right, well, either we're done with this or we just keep going. You know, we try again another time. I don't know. I think that's like a treat that we get out of like hobbies or things that we find as a temporary lifestyle change. I don't know. I might be running for the rest of my life. There's people that run into their 90s and 100s. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm open to the possibility. And I think that brings me a lot of peace, is being open to what could happen without expectation. Well, with little expectation, because, you know, I do go out there wanting to finish and I don't want to be yanked off the course by the people that sweep you. Like, but like, that's a pretty low bar as far as like, as long as I finish and I'm not pulled off the course, hey, then it's a good day. And then those do happen. It could have happened at Disney. I'm telling you, they do that like crazy. Gangbusters.
There's no joke.
No, balloon ladies. But I don't know. I think it's removing the pressure of it. Removing the have to.
I could not agree with you more. I myself, others hold ourselves back in this arena because we feel like we have to do this. We have to meet these certain things. And if we don't do them perfectly, then we have to stop doing them. And that pressure builds and builds and builds. And then we blow a gasket and we walk away from something that we could actually really, truly enjoy.
Yeah.
And movement just has to be a part of our life. movement is really kind of a non-negotiable. It just is a part of the bariatric life. And figuring out what that is going to look like for each of us is different, which is why I'm so thankful that you're willing to talk about this. Cause I know it's been a journey for you, a big one.
Yeah, huge. And throughout the process, I've kind of learned how to tweak things to work within the bariatric lifestyle. I mean, you think about athletes that are not bariatric, they do things very differently. They eat differently. They fuel differently.
They have different hydration schedules. They can drink more. They can consume more.
Right. And, I saw that challenge, especially being a part of this run club that does the training where, they're giving you recommendations of how to move your body, how often to move your body, as well as what to eat and how to fuel. And it was all for a non-bariatric patient. So I had to enlist some support. I'm working with a nutritionist that specifically works with active bariatric patients.
Yeah, Kim. Mm-hmm.
Kim. Yeah. And working with someone that understands what our life is like and what our limitations are has been huge for me because, I have to think about things on a different time schedule and quantity. And I mean, even down to I can't eat a heavy carb meal the night before and not worry that it's going to digest properly, our bodies just differently. So, there's been a lot of accommodation that I've had to make for what my life is as a bariatric patient and how that applies to being a runner. But I'm out there, I'm doing it. I'm a bariatric athlete, and there's so many of us. I mean, that's the other thing is I've bonded with a lot of folks that are in our community who are also pushing themselves to do these kinds of things and who are falling in love with sports, like whether it's running or yoga or weight training or whatever. And I think that's a huge part of it though, is we can find our niche communities in BariNation or in Instagram and it can revolve around the way that we eat or the way that we move. And it's I don't know, there's just so many layers to it that have just really become a huge part of my life.
It's inspiring. What I appreciate about your story, and I know others appreciate it about this too, is you're showing us how to embrace movement in a new way. And that is in this kind of non-judgmental way. Because, I've known distance runners in my life. I've known serious distance runners in my life. And all they are focused on is pace, time. When am I going to finish? Right. It's they have a very different approach to it. And every time I talk to you, it's oh yeah, no, I ran a great race. Either you PR'd or you didn't. You're I finished. Look at this cool medal. I wore these fun shoes, I did it.
Yeah.
And that's so different from, I think, what people think about, running or just even movement in general. It's different.
Yeah. And I think I face a lot of pushback with that perspective too. When I've shown up on the first day of Run Club for the year, they're like, what's your goal this year? And it's my goal is to run, and last year I set the goal of I want to run a half marathon. And then that turned into multiple. And this year it's I want to run a marathon. And everybody's kind of but you do have a goal, right? A pace goal. And it's no, I mean, sure. When I saw that I was finishing my race a couple weeks ago under the fastest time I'd had before, it was exciting. Yeah. It was so cool to be holy, there's progress. That's an aspect of athleticism, but I don't define myself by that. If I'm running a race this weekend, if my race this weekend is slower than it was 2 weeks ago, then it's slower than it was 2 weeks ago. At least I'm getting up and doing something that's making me smile and laugh at myself and complain about toilet issues, and there's just so many quirky things that go into it that are it's happening. And that's the best part. But yeah, it's it's removing the judgment piece and removing the expectation. I don't know, the rigidity of the expectation, I have to complete in this time. And if I don't, or if I walk, or if I can't, or, it's you can hope for the best and you can hope that you want, or you can try to achieve certain things. But it's not that serious for me. I'm not trying to get into the Olympics, Would I take a Boston run if I could? Sure. But like, I don't know that that's in the cards for me, and that's okay. Cause I don't know. It's just not about that.
Yeah. Well, it seems like this approach is just much more approachable. And the thing that I just keep thinking in the back of my brain is, I wonder if part of your, I don't know, discovery, right? Or part of your mindset now here is you're kind of recognizing the privilege that exists in people's lives who have normal sized bodies, right? For somebody who is into running, let's say, and they're asking you about a pace time, they have never known the struggle of not being able to physically put on shoes or to be winded showering.
Yeah.
Right. So to have that background that we have as obese patients, as bariatric patients, right. To know that life, to know not only what life looks like, but feels like in a bigger body, maybe helps us just kind of say like, you know what? I'm good with all of that. I'm just thrilled to be in this spot, in this size, at this level of fitness. I'm just thankful that I can walk now and not lose my breath. So whatever I can do today is a win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I don't take for granted the fact that I know what it feels like to not be able to go out and go for a run. I mean, I've always been athletic and I was able to move my body as an obese person. And I played rugby because that sport was open to bodies of all sizes. And if I could only be on the field for 10 or 15 minutes and they had to sub me because I was winded or just couldn't tolerate it, then we could, that's the thing is like, you find what works for what you've got going on. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in this smaller body. I don't think you need a small body to run by any means, but it's a different feeling. Like my body feels different when I move. And I do have the privilege of being able to go out and sustain running for 13 miles without stopping. Like and it blows my mind every time. And I think that's part of it too, is I never saw myself being at this place and I am, and that's enough. It's just enough to be out there and doing it. And I think that's just really a lucky place to be in, or a privileged place to be in, because I just can. And I love it. I'm like, hey, it feels good right now.
And you are working really hard at that. It is something that you are choicing into every day. And to make the choice to be on the lookout for where judgment might be creeping into, right, to your mindset, and to actively continue to kind of go, nope, we're not doing that. Nope, we're not doing that. That takes a lot of work. That's a ton of work.
Yeah. And it's not perfect. I have those moments. I had that moment on the last run that I did, the last race that I ran. The app wasn't working and it wasn't telling me my mileage. And so I was feeling really blind, and the race didn't put out mile markers. So I had no idea where I was. I was just following people, and, they have people out there like pointing, but this was not like, this is mile 6 and I'm halfway through and I see the finish line and I was like, yes, I'm done. And they point at me and they're like, half marathons go that way. And I was like, wait, what? And it was a double loop. And I went, and I knew that when I signed up. I had read the map course. Like it wasn't like it was a big surprise, but when you're in the like flow of things and like you're doing, I don't know, your part of your brain turns off, your logic brain or something. I don't know, because how would you have logic and still do that? But I had to do a full another like 6.5 miles. And I had to dig to a very deep place and say, I mean, I almost laid down and cried. I was literally feeling like I was going to stop dead, cry, and have a temper tantrum because I didn't realize how dependent I had become on the app in my headphones telling me where I was at, or a mile marker. And I had neither. So I was, so it's not like it's easy every time I go. It's hard. It's a struggle. And I just keep pushing because I'm like, yeah, but why not? Not what's the worst that could happen. It's what's the best that could happen. And the best that could happen is something I don't even know, like beating my best time by 15 minutes blindly, like not even realizing that was happening and thinking, well, I guess I guess I just did that thing, but I don't know. It's, you have to choose to be there. I'm choosing to be there. I'm getting up and doing the thing. I'm eating the way I need to. I'm hydrating my body. I'm saying no to things that I used to say yes to, in the sense of like, nope, I'm not going to meet up with you on a Friday night. I'll meet up with you on a Saturday night or a Sunday night. Like, I'm making choices that are aligned with what is most important to me right now. And I mean, in the grand scheme, like for movement, right? Most important right now for movement is marathon training, running, and racing. And I don't know, once you've kind of committed to that persona, or I don't know, I keep going back to, it's a value set. Mm-hmm. What would a runner do? A runner's not going to go out and have drinks on a Friday night. A runner's not going to stay up all night watching TV. A runner's going to make plans to get some rest and eat a good meal, but also, like, a runner's going to go on a vacation and run a race while she's there. It's like, it's twofold. It's like, they're the non-negotiables. Yeah. And then there are the added perks of like, I don't know, I'm going to Vegas this week and running a race. I'm going to Texas in 2 weeks, running a race. I'm going to Croatia in a month, running a race, and some other stuff. Like, I try to look at it from that, like, yeah, you got to get up in the morning and go run, and it's going to be uncomfortable at times. And guess what? You're also going to do all these other cool things and see all these places and meet these new friends. And
right. We talk about this often, but our no gives us more capacity to say yes to the things that matter most to us in that moment. So it's not that you're saying no necessarily to it's not no for no's sake. It's, I'm going to say no to that so I can say yes to this thing that's really inspiring me right now, that is, fueling me, that brings me a lot of joy, that brings me happiness, that fuels my fire, that I'm drawn to do. Yeah. You can't say yes to all of those and not say no to anything else. There's just not enough in the world to make that math equation math. So no can be a really powerful thing if you're ready to say yes to something that is really fueling your fire in your life.
And I think that's why I do feel the way I do about running, is because I am listening to what works for me. I'm creating a life around this. And I'm just trusting that it's where I'm supposed to be, not forcing it.
That trust is huge. And people have a lot of issues with that, understandably, just like what you talked about before. Yeah. But I understand what you say. When you get really quiet and you just listen to what is bubbling up on the inside, it's there. You just have ignored it, or you have pushed it down, or you have just purposely decided to not, tune into that, but it's there. It's always there. And when we really learn, I think, to harness the power of that inner voice, our decisions become more aligned. Things just seem to flow easier in life. It just, the path kind of becomes made clear if you are listening to yourself.
Yeah. And, you're going to hear the negativity too. You're going to hear the voices that tell you, stop doing this. This is not who you are. Who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You're going to hear that too. And I think that we're always going to hear those things. And we have to understand that, like, you get to choose. Do you listen to those ones, or do you listen to the ones where you see the real, like, that shining light inside yourself that's supportive, that loves you, that's good for you? Those negative voices are not good for you. Those are the voices that are maybe trying to protect you from change, from struggle, from pain, but they're not always right. Like, you have to find that place where, you just kind of see the water calm and just settling, and you just know. And it's, I don't know. I didn't think I'd get to the point where I would hear that voice inside of me. I didn't know that it existed. And I looked at my therapist when she said it, and I was like, you're nuts. What are you talking about? Your voice, woo-woo crap. Like, I just didn't know what I didn't know. And now that I know where that is, I can't turn it off.
Mm-mm.
And I don't want to. I'm so grateful for finding that. And my bariatric journey is by no means perfect. Food is hard at times. Meds are hard at times. Vitamins, I don't always get my water intake properly, but man, I've got the movement dialed in. So like, I'll take it, right? I'll take it. I always move. I always move.
Yeah. And perfection is a misnomer. It's not about doing this perfectly. It's about doing it to live. It's about doing it to live a little bit better than we did before. It's about treating a disease that's never going to be cured. It's about learning how to live with it side by side. And these more little tools that we can pick up along the way helps us battle that disease, not us. It helps us battle the disease. And I really appreciate what you're just talking about. It's tapping into that, and it's tapping into you and to what you enjoy and to what your body is calling for and to what feels good and what feels right. Letting go of that judgment and that shame. Choosing the voice that you're going to listen to, acknowledging that this is not going to be pain-free. And I think acknowledging that pain is just a part of life. Pain, we always associate pain as being something negative. It's not really negative though sometimes. Sometimes pain is just pain. It just feels different from what we're used to, but it's not necessarily bad. It's not negative. Sure, there's pain that's bad and negative, but when it comes to this, when it comes to growth and curiosity and exploring new things, it's sometimes needed and necessary.
Well, and it's in those struggles where we grow so much.
Yeah.
You can cruise along doing the same thing that you've always done, or you can push the edge and find the stress point and say, I'm going to push through this and see what's on the other side of it. And that's the growth. That's where you see change. But you have to choose to do it. You have to choose.
You do.
And you have to believe that you can, or
Yes.
at least pretend that you do it first, and then you get there. You got it.
I get it.
Right.
Exactly. Fake it till you make it. Oh. Casey, my friend, this has been, as always, an amazing conversation. Thank you for your honesty and for sharing your story bravely. I know that it's hard to talk about these things. We all have a difficult time kind of talking about like what's going good in our life sometimes. So I appreciate you being willing to share that story with us. If somebody's watching and listening to this podcast and they want to connect with you, they want to follow you, where can they do so?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Casey's Journey to Health, and I'm a BariNation follower, so you can find me there.
Yes.
If you can't find me directly, find me through BariNation.
In one of the groups. That's the
Or
best.
show up at a race somewhere. I might be standing around, right?
There you go. There you go. Awesome, my friend. Truly, thank you. This has been amazing. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey friends, it's April. I know you are inspired listening to Casey's movement story. I also know it can be one of the hardest pillars to implement after bariatric surgery. If you need a little dose of movement, motivation, or inspiration, you can find it in the BariNation membership community. There, you can connect with movement-minded peers just like Casey and tap into on-demand movement resources when and where they are right for you. Join us today at barination.mn.co and find that little spark of movement motivation. That wraps up another empowering episode of the BariNation podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, keep the conversation going by joining the BariNation membership community, where you can attend live support events, access on-demand resources, and find a caring community.
Join us at barination.mn.co. If you found this podcast valuable, help us produce it by becoming a $5 monthly supporter at barinationpodcast.com.
And just remember, at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.